Gundam The Origin, you can watch the 2015 version and the 2019 version. And now we shall say a review on this because it was really good.
It was really good.
So Eric, how did you watch it?
I watched the anime, you jerk, because I didn't know the OVAs existed.
How did you not look this up?
Because I was just watching, I was just trying to catch up because I want to watch Hathaway. So story time here. I was really interested in the new Gundam Hathaway movie that just had come out recently.
Because of the trailer?
Because of the trailer. The trailer was intense. And if you haven't checked out the trailer, like, go check that out. Even if you're not a Gundam fan, you watch that trailer, you're going to be like, yo, like, I want to watch this movie. Not even a Gundam fan, but this movie looks crazy because that's what the trailer was. It was
Very
like,
cinematic. Talk about a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it was an absolute crazy trailer, and I was just a trailer. I was like, yeah, I want to watch this movie. But after looking some stuff up online, a lot of people are like, yeah, if you don't know anything about the original or the UC or Universal Century, which is like the universe that the first couple of Gundams are in, you're not gonna understand the movie. So I was like, oh, okay, like I guess I gotta start watching it from the beginning.
But I've heard reviews where they say that you don't need to watch them, you just won't know the characters that come out. Some of the characters are referencing characters from the original series, but I've seen reviews where they say that you don't need to watch the whole series.
If the characters look like they know each other,
you personally want to see everything. You want to get a full understanding of it. Yes. But I've read reviews where they say like you don't need to know anything. You can go in without knowing anything.
Okay, well there you go. If that's your type of, if you're that type of person, I want to have a complete understanding of the story. So what did I do? I went back and started with the OG
original series Gundam
78-9 Gundam.
But hold on, you looked this up, or did you just know that you were gonna start with the Gundam? The original Gundam.
Yeah, I just knew that I was gonna start with.
So
the
you
Gundam.
You never looked up like how to watch them?
No, I didn't. I just immediately went on a guess as to like, okay, this is like this.
So
is
that's why you started with that instead of the Origin.
Yes.
Okay, so I would recommend, if you're gonna start your journey with the Gundam universe, especially the UC Gundam universe, Universal Century, if you're gonna start with that one, then I would suggest looking up, because that's easy. There's a bunch of websites that have how to watch the UC universe, because there's so many side stories, some of them which are better than the original series, or if not, most of them are better than the original series, especially the original Gundam. There's a lot of recommendations on how to follow the timeline, because all of them are out of whack. The Gundam Universal Century series is like Star Wars. It's out of Star Wars. It starts off very weird. Yeah. The original, then you have some that are in between, it's a very whacked out story, but you can easily find that online on how to watch these series individually if you want to get into it. And some are really worth it, especially the standalone series, the side stories.
After the original is when I found out about the Origin and Char's backstory, so I went ahead and watched that one, and I was, by far, that is one of the best series that I've ever seen. It was extremely well done, even if it was just the anime version, which I didn't know the freaking OVAs existed. But Google it. I would like people to get whatever experience that they want to get from, Gundam, but start at the Origin, because when I watched the original Gundam, I asked myself multiple times, I'm like, why am I watching this? Like, the story was so dumb. I hated it. I was like,
it was for children.
Yeah.
Children of the 70s, late 70s.
However, I will say animation, it's really good. For at that time, I'm pretty sure that was some of the best animation that they can really.
We'll see 70s, and we'll see. I won't quote you on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like...
Have you seen a lot of 70s animes?
I have not, but I feel like they put a lot of money into that.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
For all intent and purposes of ending the original Gundam series conversation here, I will just say that it was a show just to sell toys.
Yeah.
Robot toys.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much emphasis done on the story. It was just, hey, let's do this. Here you go. But what we're focusing on is selling toys, because it's really dumb.
Yeah, it was a really dumb story.
But if you don't like dumb stories, then go check out The Origin.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great story. Very complex. Well, not very complex, but it's just such enriching characters.
Yeah. So
backstories.
Getting into The Origin. Now that my friends is where I was just like, yes, like this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. As I started watching it, immediately completely different tone,
more serious tone.
From the first couple of minutes, you're like, oh my god, people are dying.
This is a war.
Like this is a war. Like you're getting the actual experience of how
the seeds of the war started. Gundam seed. Again, we're talking about how great this series is, because this is before the inventions of the mobile suit for the beginning of this story, right? So before the mobile suits were invented, and the reason that there is a war, and it's between the Zeons and the Earth Federation. Now, I love this because it starts off with the main character of this story is Char, aka
it's Casval.
Casval, aka Char, and how this war originated from. And it got me thinking, is that this war not only started because of one man, but I believe that it carried on more than this just one man. It was not because of a man, but because of an idea, an ideology. So the father of Casval was Zeon Sum Daikun, and the ideology that he had is that basically there's this group of humans, space noids, kind of lame, that are now living in space.
Yes.
But they still serve under the Earth Federation, like regulations under this Earth Federation. And they have space colonies. So basically, Zeon Sum Daikun is saying that we're our own people. We're now our own race. We're the future of humanity. And he believed that there was going to be these new things. He had a bunch of ideas of what was going to happen in the future, like if he was Nostradamus.
Yeah.
And he had this idea that there's going to be this new group of humans called new types. When we first hear new types, and I like that Counterattack kind of expands a little bit. It makes me understand new types a little bit more than the original series did, which is weird.
Yeah.
But I guess it's because they had time to flesh out what they wanted the new types to be, especially because of the other off-brand series or side series. Basically, he says that we want to be our own people. We want to be our own principality away from the Earth Federation. And and he's the leader of these colonies, space colonies. And basically the day that he was going to announce and say that we're going to become our own principality is somehow, one way or another, he gets killed. He dies. And he knew he was going to die. He was scared of that. But he ends up dying. And with his death came a revolution. And it was a revolution carried on by the Zabi family. At the end of this, right? At the end of this, who are you most curious of? Char? Or who gave you a more enriching experience of this story? Just the story of Char?
I think I would have to say both honestly, I don't know. It's really hard to pinpoint because
it was such a unique story.
It was such a unique story that I wanted to know about Char even more so than I did. I wanted to know about...
I feel like we got to know him pretty well.
We did. But I feel like I don't know.
It left you longing for more, right?
Maybe it left me longing for more. The Zabi family were full of characters that had their own uniqueness to them. The Raw family, oh my God. Ramba Raw, he is a man's man, bro. Like that... He's a true G, bro. Like that guy, oh my God. He was such a cool character. Like he was such a dope character. So I wouldn't be able to choose. There's just so many, there's a plethora of characters in there that I was just really interested in because they were all really well put together. So
well written.
Really well written characters. And you like well written stories, my guy?
This is where it's at.
Check this out, bro.
But more than anything, I want to know more about the Zabi family in general. We get to know that the Zabi family were very much supporters, or very old supporters, of the Daikun family, which is Casval's family.
But they killed them.
Yeah, most likely, right? You don't know who killed them. The reason we suspect that they killed them, they don't go up and say like, "Oh, we killed this guy."
Yeah, of course.
No, but the fact that they took control of his death and used it as a propaganda to start the revolution against the Earth Federation and space colonies makes you believe like this was a political move. So much so that the next death that happens that's important to the revolution is a member of their own family that gets killed, which most likely leads us to believe that someone in one of the siblings of the Zabi families killed that guy, right? Yep. What was his name?
I don't know.
Sasaro, I think,
Yeah.
something like that. And Dozo, there was the zombie, the older, was with them, and he survived. The car he explodes,
and
Dozo was sitting next to him, and he doesn't die.
That man, but that he was built like a rock. That guy,
he
bro.
was.
Like he was just like.
Now Dozo himself is also such an interesting character.
He
is way more interesting than I give the original series credit for at all. Like in the original series, he's just this imposing general villain, right? But I love how the origin explains like what this war means to each of them individually. Yeah. Each of these main characters, the Zabi family, individual Zabi family members, what does this war mean to them? We get a point of view of like what this war has done to them and what it means to them.
Yeah.
And honestly, for me, for the atrocities that Dozo did and then does in the future, like in the original series or whatever, and whatever happens to him at the end. But when we get his story fleshed out, to me, I boiled it down to this. He was an idiot. He's a one-track meat man, right? But it's funny that the creations of the mobile suit was pushed on by him. That's amazing. He's like a muscle man. You think he'll be a military man, as he's shown in the original series. But instead of thinking like military strength, like he's a huge man. So instead of just being a meathead, like soldiers will win this battle. No, he said technology would win this battle. So he got the original creator. He backed up the original creator of the mobile suits, Minovsky, and he basically focused on creating these things that they called mobile suits.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really unique that it was this guy who was basically your average general meathead antagonist, and that his backstory is like, no, I'm the reason that this war is going to go to another level. I thought that was really cool. And then not only that, he's headstrong, but he's also very sensitive.
He is very sensitive.
He cares very much for his family, for his siblings, for their ideology, which he strongly believes in.
Yeah.
And he does repent. When they drop that satellite, that colony onto Earth and kill half of the Earth's population. Well, later on it's revealed that it's half of the population, but originally it was like 2 billion or billions of people that they kill in the first impact. He regrets it. And especially when he has his first child, he cries, he bawls that he killed millions of other children, like his daughter. And then he instantly turns to convince himself, to boil himself hard. He says, no. It's their fault. They were too weak to protect their children. I will protect my children. I like that.
Like that?
I like that.
Wow.
Because we know in real life, war breaks a lot of people, right? And you got to be really psychotic in order to continue and thrive in war.
Which he did.
Or have a mental breakdown. But this man made himself a mental barrier. He's like, I'm doing such atrocities to humanity, but the reason I'm doing it is to protect my family, to protect what's precious to me.
Yeah.
Not a good reason.
It's not a good. It's not a good reason to kill people.
It's just a great reason for him not to be a one-trick pony.
Okay, I get what
that's what I'm saying.
For his character.
For his character to be just a plain Joe, like, oh, I want to kill the Earth Federation. Yeah, let's kill them all.
So
no, he says like, I regret what I did. We're criminals for what we've done, but I'm doing this for my family.
And because my reaction to that was kind of similar, but different, because when he was crying, and I was like, yo, this is wild. Like, this man, like as you said, he's like this.
He's a hard-boiled dude.
He's a hard-boiled dude, and he just starts crying and bawling about what he's done. And I was like, man, this is so great. Like, I was enjoying it because character development. This is what anime's about, bro. And then, as you said, he looked at his daughter, and then he immediately he's like, no, they were too weak to protect it. And I was like, but then like, you suck, because I actually felt something for him, like maybe like, I don't know, maybe
for a minute.
Like for a minute I was like, dang bro, like you actually feel bad about what you did. And then he just turned it around and he's like, nah bro, like I'm doing this to protect my family. I understand, but you're a POS still for killing all these people, right?
Yeah. Okay, the creator, Minovsky, of course, he's the reason, right? He's the creator of a weapon of mass destruction. But Dozo was the one that was invested the time and money for it to come to fruition.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That boy has better character development in a 13 episode series than Eren Yeager does in the entire Attack on Titan series. Sorry, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. Y'all be, oh, he's so great, when he literally goes, he just gets madder every season, like, and then he becomes Hitler. Like, nah, bro.
And if you haven't watched the ending, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I'm just gonna say that he doesn't reveal his true hand until the very end, right? So for me, he just went down and down and down and degradable all the way to the end. They're like, well, the ending is my redeeming feature. But the difference between that and Dozo is that Dozo says like, I regret, but I'm not gonna redeem myself. I'm just gonna keep pushing forward, and this is the reason why. That's, for me, that's better than just at the very end, oh, I'm a good guy because of this. No, my guy.
No, that doesn't count. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. You're POS. Anyways, back to actual good story, my guys.
Who else you liked about the series?
I obviously, of course, I love Char. Like
Casval.
That man.
Let's get into Casval.
Let's get into freaking Casval, because he
here.
is a complete psychopath. Like, this man has the patience of a god. Like, nobody is as patient as this man. This man played the long freaking con to get what he wanted.
So remember, we said that his dad, he brought it forth, the ideology that the space noids, them living in space colonies, are gonna be the future of humanity. And Casval's dad was killed. And immediately, they're like, the people around him, they're like, oh, it was the zombie family. They're the ones that killed your dad. And they put this in his head. And there's a point where one of the daughters of the zombie family, Kycilia, goes in and confronts him as like a 10-year-old boy and tells her, like, she puts handcuffs on him. She threatens him. He's like, what you gonna do, little boy? He's all like, well, one day when I grow up, I'm gonna make y'all repent for what y'all did to my dad, and I'm gonna make y'all bow to me.
He had one of the coldest lines as a freaking child. Like, this man showed absolutely no fear. And when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, this man's a complete psychopath. He is just built different. Like,
it explains instantly that he ended up the way he did in the original series, because his child, the way he explained himself as a child, just explained to me the whole reason why he ended up becoming how he did.
Char, from the get-go, he was just built different. This man was a complete and utter psychopath. He showed no fear for this older, menacing person threatening him, and he did not back down. He's like, nope.
So what I agree with you now that I'm thinking about it, that you wanted to know more about Char, right? I kind of do, because what kind of raising a child makes your child become like that?
Exactly. Like, and they didn't explain anything.
So his dad dies in the beginning. Then you got his mother, right? It's just him, his sister, and the mother always consoles Artesia, but never Casval.
Never Casval.
And every time she talks to the daughter and consoles the daughter, they never explain, like, does she have full confidence that Casval's gonna be okay? Does she have full confidence, like, this boy is hardened already, so I don't need to comfort this child? Why does she never console or comfort Casval?
No idea.
She just felt like she never had a need to. Some people can say because that's a little girl and this is a boy. He's 10 years old.
He's still a child. You have to console a child, but
she never did. I was like, I guess from growing up, he's mentally strong already. I want to know, like, what did his dad teach him? What did his mother teach him? That this boy was already having this mentality, this hard mentality, like, I'm gonna make everybody pay when I grow up. I'm some way or another, I'm gonna make everybody pay.
But now you start to get into his character and you see how meticulous of a planner he is to achieve his goal, his end goal, which is to take revenge for his family. But
before that, they move in with another guy who they changed their names. They changed their names to Sayla and Eduardo, I think it was, right? This is a story about machines and stuff like that. They have guns, they have modern stuff. So there's one point where them has living in this family, they get attacked by rebels of the Zeon faction, right? And there's this one guy that goes in full knight armor.
For some reason,
I found that weird. That stuck out real weird.
I didn't understand that either. I was like, why is he in suit of armor? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's the only thing that tripped me out about this series is that there was a guy in a knight armor suit. There's people shooting around with guns. They're cloaked up and they're going around killing people. And there's just this one guy in full body knight armor. And I was like, why? It was just to show that Caswell can fight with swords because he kills this guy.
Yeah, he kills this guy. Like, he has no regrets. He's just like, no regrets.
No regrets.
Just die.
Yep. He like swings at him. The armor blocks him. Of course, he's full body armored, bro. And then so he's like, I'm gonna stab where there's a hole, and right where the helmet is at, goes flap.
Mind you, Casval / Char is like 12 at this point.
Yes.
He's still a child, and he was able to fully take down this grown
while
human
protecting
being.
his sister who got sick. But I like how they build up on Sayla here too, because from when they moved in with this guy and in his mansion, she was already she was helping out like medics. So she was doing small stuff. So it explains why in the original series she's a medic. She's a nurse or practitioner of the medical team.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Casval was like, I'm getting hardened, bro.
Yeah, he just became more and more unhinged as the series went on. And
then after that, they get sent to Texas, where he meets.
They meet a boy
whose name
is
was Char.
And he looks exactly like Casval. And as soon as he met him, that's when he knew what he was going to do when they turned like 17. He planned what he was gonna do as soon as he met him, because I don't know if you remember, but Artesia was on the horse, and then she sees Char from afar, and she's like,
brother,
is that my brother? And he gets
so
closer,
good on his horse.
And he gets closer, and she's like, that's not my brother. And he introduces himself, and that's like, oh, hey, my name is Char or whatever. And then Caswell comes in, and Artesia's like, oh no.
Like, she felt like something was about to go down.
Yeah, she felt like Caswell
especially because Caswell looked intense.
Yeah, he looked intense.
And he slowly
galloped up, and he saw Char, and he immediately smiled at him, like one of the first few smiles that he ever gave in the series. And I was like, when all that stuff went down, I knew from the moment he met him, he was gonna use him somehow, and use him he did. He did use him.
That's speculation on his part, because unless Caswell himself says it, then yeah.
But why would he smile at him? That wouldn't make any sense. He doesn't care about anybody except Artesia.
So the moment, it was like a build-up moment of tension. For me, this is how I took it. This is a build-up tension, especially because Caswell, that's why Artesia was kind of like ready to hear an argument or something, because she knows that Caswell doesn't get along with people very well. She knows her brother. And then when they high five, she was like, oh, like all of a sudden, like as soon as he walks up to him, they high five.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like they connected just from their eyes. And that just broke the tension. Yeah. So for me, it was him like looking at this man and saying like, is he a threat? Because as we see later on, Caswell is always aware of his surroundings. He's always looking at his surroundings. He knows when there's a threat nearby.
Yeah.
So for me, he was just studying him to see if he was a threat. And when he saw that this guy is just an idiot, then they high five. Because as later on in the story progresses, Char joins the military academy and he goes into the military and he becomes a Zeon soldier. So it wasn't until that moment happened that I feel that Caswell said, yeah, this guy is a tool for me to use now. Because it wasn't until his mother died that Caswell became super cold. So before he was cold, but it wasn't until the horrified expression that he had. I was surprised that he was horrified. When they got word that their mother had passed away, then I feel he became truly cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Because he had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
He has a little sister, but apparently she doesn't matter.
Yeah. At this point, it became a mission of revenge.
So the biggest moment from this take is how he becomes Char.
Yeah.
How he takes this boy's name. Which is so cold-blooded, bro.
So as I said, I'm still holding on to the point that as soon as he saw this man when he was a kid, he knew what he was going to do. He knew what he was gonna do, as in take it his identity. Like that's just me, right?
Yeah. Well,
he didn't know how.
Yeah. For me, it's because for me came the point where he found out his mom was dead, and so he thought more coldly of the world, and he already knew that he was being supervised. Like he already knew there were spies all around him, to the point where he kicked one of their asses, and Sayla had to stop them, pleaded him to stop kicking this guy's ass. And then at that point, it was at that moment, then he decided, like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Like, my sister is holding me back. What do I got to do next? And Char came back from the military academy saying that he was applying to become a Zeon soldier.
Yeah.
And for me, at that instance, they were eating dinner. And at that instance, Char's all like, you know what? Hey, that's not a bad idea. So he's all like, hey, my guy, I'm going to join the school that you went to. He's all right, that's cool. And from then on, what happened, Eric?
Oh my goodness. The most savage thing that I've ever seen. And so they're going into, they both have their passports or whatever. They have their belongings. They say goodbye or whatever. And
Char puts a gun. Oh no, Casval puts a gun in Char's suitcase. So security always are like, hey, my guy, what are you doing with this gun? He's like, hey, that's not mine. And so Char's all like, oh, Casval is like, hey, my guy, let's go to the bathroom. We'll settle this in a minute. Because Casval already knew that he was being watched. And because he was joining the military, he already knew that the Zabi families, their spies, weren't going to let him do that. So he needed an out.
He needed an out, and an out he did find in this boy that looked exactly like him. Coincidentally. He basically said, you're a plot device, my guy, and I'm gonna use you like plot devices get freaking used. So he tells Char to change clothes with him, and he's like, all right, man, let's go. All right.
I'll deal with this problem. You go into the ship.
You really want to go to that academy, bro. I know it. So for right now, I'm you and you're me. You go on ahead, bro. And they come out, and then Casval now acting as Char, and Char now acting as Casval. The security guards take Casval / Char, and the original Char, who is now Casval, takes off. They're like, okay, you can go, man, but we just need to hold him because he had the gun or whatever.
So since Casval now dressed up as Char, he was dealing with the gun situation. The guy was all like, hey, like, I'm sorry to hold you up, but there'll be another flight tomorrow. And Casval's like, all right, that's cool. And he's like, all right, well, see ya. And meanwhile, the ship is taking off.
And
the spies are all like, he's on the ship. They're like, do it, bro. So Char is looking, poor Char, poor original Char. He goes, Char. Boom. The spies blow up the spaceship.
And this is talking back to a point JT made. Casval is extremely aware of his surroundings. He knew they were out to murder him. He knew it, and he needed an out, and the out he did receive through the plot device that was Char. R.I.P. original Char.
And boom, he went.
That was great. That was by far that was savage. And this man played the long game on that and the long con on that one, and I was like, wow. Until he meets the baby of the Zabi family at the military academy, now posing as Char, and he meets the youngest of the Zabi family,
Garma, who was funny because in the original series he doesn't last long. So getting his whole backstory and seeing
great.
Yeah. It was like this basically this spoiled rich kid.
Yes.
Very spoiled and very weak. Yes. And below Casval in every way possible, and then becoming friends. But we know. So at this point, we know that Casval wants revenge on the Zabi family. It builds up very nicely, and he is getting an in via their army. He's gonna work his way up the ladder. He's basically pulling an evil version of Suzaku in Code Geass.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Casval's all like, no, I'm gonna kill them from within.
Oh man.
And then he meets someone who went to school with Char, who figures out that's another savage moment. So if we're talking about savage moments right now of Casval, there is someone who went to school with Char.
The original Char that is now kaboom.
And he's all like, this guy is acting different. And at one point during military training, he tells him like, hey, this is just like in high school, huh? Where we played this game and you took the lead. So, oh yeah. And then later on in the story, when it gets really heavy, there comes a point where the boy confronts him. It's like, hey, remember that thing I mentioned about high school? That didn't happen. So I had my suspicions, but I now know that you're not Char. And doing my easy research, I figured out that you're Casval. He's all like, who? He's like, don't play with me, bro. I'm totally on your side. I totally agree with what your father said. You come back to get revenge on the zombie family. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. He's like, don't worry, man. I'm on your side. And I know you have bad eyesight, because the reason why Char is always wearing sunglasses and stuff, I don't know if it's legit or was that an excuse.
No,
I'm gonna assume that's legit, right?
That was an excuse because he could have played Char as much as he wanted to. He couldn't change his eye color.
Yeah. We see him use eye drops a few times, so I don't know, because they do in military, they do a physical exam, and they might have found out that was wrong. He had pigment or a problem with his eyes or something like that.
I don't
know if that's a legit reason, but this boy went on, and the iconic mask that Char uses is from this boy, and he's like, here, I made these for you, and he puts it on. He's like, how do I look? You look awesome, my man. And so by the time he meets the youngest Garma, and he knew, I can easily manipulate this idiot, and manipulate he does.
Manipulate him, he did.
So there's a point in time where the Earth Federation starts racking up soldiers to prepare for a counterattack against the zombie family for their uprising. And Char, being cold-blooded, he sweet talks Garma into using the students from the military academy as a rebellious attack against the Earth Federation. He's like, hey man, we do this, you'll be a hero, bro. Trust me. And Garma's like, I don't think we could do this. He's like, bruh, trust me. We're gonna be famous, or you're gonna be famous. You're gonna show like why you're a zombie family member. He's like, all right, bro. All right, like, hey, don't worry, bro. We got this. And then that's when that boy confronts Caswell. And then Caswell's like, I'm not Caswell. I'm Char. But he's like, hey, your secret's okay with me. He's like, all right. So, by the way, I'm part of your squad. You're part of my squad? All right. So the students attack the Earth Federation.
By themselves, under the leadership of...
Garma.
No, by Char.
Garma.
By Garma.
Via Char. All the planning was from Char.
He's literally the type of person that is like from the shadows. Everything from the shadows. He cares not about the fame or nothing like that. He knew what to play into the emotions of Garma and to get him to do what he wanted.
One way or another. So it comes to point during the attack. Remember that kid that we mentioned who figured out who he was and was very loyal to him. And he said, hey bro, here's a mask. Here's a cool looking mask. Trust me, bro. And he kind of trusts him in the battlefield, and he follows Char's orders all with confidence. And there's one point where there was a tank. It's like, here's a flash grenade, bro. Throw that into that tank. I know that you're good at that, and take care of that tank. Steal it. And then follow my commands afterwards. The kid does what Char said, full confidence, and he's into an enemy's tank, and then his allies show up, and Char leaves to another section, and then it's just him and the kid and Char in lines of communication. Nobody else can hear them because they're talking privately. And so he tells me, like, hey Char, or Casval, there's friendlies that are pointing the rockets at me. Tell them to hold. I'm friendly. He's all like, no response.
No response. And they're asking what happened to the kid, and Char is just like, yeah, you see that tank? Yeah, he got killed by the tank. Revenge him for us, bro. All right, man.
Boom. 4 rockets fire at this kid, and it goes boom. And then I like his line. I love his line. He's like, I'm not Casval, bro. The kid's already dead. He just says it just because I'm not Casval. I'm Char, and walks away like a badass.
Oh my god. He's a complete and utter psychopath, this guy, bro. Like, it is savage how cunning, how charismatic, how planning this guy is. He's an extreme person, only to get what he wants, and that is to get revenge. And
he already thinks ahead, and he mentions this in the anime, in the original series, and in here too. You always have to think ahead of your enemy, and that's everything that's on his mind. At this point, he doesn't ever state what's on his mind, but from his actions and from the start, you can just guess that the zombie family is what he's after. His end game, is to make sure to destroy this, and this whole war is just a pretext. He's like, I don't care. I'm after this family.
Yeah.
Everything else I do is just a byproduct.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. His character is so cool. Like, I'm just like, bro, you are evil. Like, you are crazy. Like, you are absolutely crazy. the fact that he's still doing it, like he just evolves from taking revenge on his family to just taking revenge because he doesn't care about like
Sayla.
He doesn't care about Sayla or Artesia. Like he's
Yeah,
just taking revenge solely to take revenge. I was like, oh my god, man, this guy is wild.
Yep.
This guy's freaking bonkers.
And that may be single track minded, right? That's it. He just wants revenge. Oh, this is just a revenge story. Yeah, it's just a revenge story. But the actions that he takes to get that revenge is what makes it great.
Yeah.
It does. It's just simple as that. He just wants revenge. But what happens in between that is what makes this story great.
Mm-hmm. And then plus all the characters, like we were talking about before, like the plethora of characters that the origin has is like amazing. Just amazing characters.
Again, seeing from the 2019 version, the anime series, the 13 episode anime series versus the 2015 version, there was a few scenes that we had from Sayla. I know that they happened in the anime. They happened a little bit off path from the OVAs, but they were still in the anime. But you get a few more extra scenes. Like while all of this is happening, they show what Sayla was doing.
Yeah.
They showed that when the only thing I saw in the anime is that she visited their graves, right? Because they already had a grave for her mother.
Yeah.
And then next to her was a grave for Casval, but it was called Eduardo because they had to use their fake names.
Yeah.
And then there was that moment where she said, like, I don't believe that you died. And then she lays on the tree like if she's about to go to sleep. I don't know why, because she was crying. And then she's all like, what did you do to that poor boy, Char?
She knew it.
Yep, she had a feeling. She's all like, I know my brother. I don't believe he's dead. I'm pretty sure he did something to that boy, that poor boy, Char. And her hunch was right. But that's the only time she mentions that.
Yeah.
But before that, there was a few scenes where in the OVAs, they show a little bit of Sayla, like what she was doing. She was studying to be a medic.
Yeah.
But they didn't have that in the anime. They just focused on Char. So I just got a little bit more understanding of Sayla, and I felt more appreciative of Sayla and her story. Yeah. It's not just about Char. Like he was cold-blooded and he's doing this revenge, but it's like the sister doesn't matter. Sayla doesn't matter at all, which is almost true in the original series. She cared a little bit for Amuro, but like not that deeply.
Yeah.
Right? But in this one, she was mainly a side character in the original Gundam. But here, in the OVAs, we get her little scenes of her, which makes it a little bit more caring for her.
Yeah.
But in the anime, you get most of those scenes cut off. So really, she's still just a side character in the anime. Unfortunately. She remember, this isn't just her story, her journey. She's also part of the Daikun family.
Yeah. I'm like, and why would they give her such a like minor role like that?
So since we're talking about Sayla, we're gonna skip close to the end, but this just has to do with Sayla. It's amazing. Casval, cold-blooded, little girl who just wants everything to be right with her family. Separates from her mom. Her mom says, like, look at the moon. You're gonna go to Earth, and there's a thing called the moon. When that moon cycles, it has a cycle. When it reaches its full moon 100 times, that's when we'll meet again. And the way she finds out that her mom died is they get a letter, and she was writing down like, this is the 43rd cycle of the moon. So she didn't forget. And then she gets the letter, and then she's crying. And right when she's crying that her mom died, about the next day, that's when when Char decides to leave to the military and that plot against the original Char to kill him. And so she lost her mom, and then she loses her brother, and she had a pet cat, and she loses her cat too. She loses so much in such a short amount of time. So before Casval left, her cat died, and it was one of the most saddest scenes. She said, like, you know that mommy passed away, and you just wanted mommy not to be alone in heaven. I was like, oh girl. And then her brother just goes away. I'm leaving you, and she's chasing for her brother. He just turns around and looks like really cold-blooded and just leaves. I was like, dang, this girl had it rough.
Absolutely. I'm like,
but then she still grows up to be a pretty decent human being.
Exactly.
It's opposite of her brother.
Exactly.
But then comes the moment when they're taking refuge, and the Zeon Federation is basically, or the Zeon army is taking over colonies, and then there's these savages that go and attack lands that aren't loyal to the Zeons. And they attack the place where her and her what would you call stepfather or
But that was who was in the house with her when
when they got attacked. And that man, he was sick and he had a heart attack, and Sayla went to attend to him because she was also studying to be a medical student, and just being close to him, who he referred to as her daughter. That dude that took him in, Toldeo, I forget his name, but he truly felt like he was proud of her as a daughter. Like, she truly is my daughter. Yeah. And she truly saw him as a father. And so they were just in the hillsides of a country, and they were like being left alone. But then all of a sudden you have these savages that attack places nearby, and they eventually end up where they were. And there's a bunch of people from the village that was nearby that come running asking for help, and then these savages come around and they start shooting. And in that instance, bro, we're talking about character development again. Dozo great, Char great, but Sayla also great. At this moment, she is a nurse. She's starting to be a medic. She wants to help people. She wants to heal people. And at this moment, with her life being threatened, in this prequel, she saw men with guns and she instantly takes charge. She said, barricade all the places, get all the weapons that you can get. She gets a shotgun and she's the first one that takes the shot and kills somebody. She goes, pah, I'm gonna protect myself. Yeah. I'm not gonna let myself get pushed around. And she's crying while she's killing people. Yes. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Sayla now.
Right? Like, she is a great character. She's like, I want to help people, but if I gotta put a pop in you, I'm gonna pop you, bro.
And then she's crying. She's like, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna protect the people that are precious to me, and I'm gonna protect myself. Damn sure well, I'm gonna protect myself. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
And she took command. Like, they had a tank of a gas tank, and then they throw it in and it starts to fire, and then people were running. She's like, don't run, put it out. And they do. And at that moment, her stepfather passes away.
Yeah.
From a heart attack. He had 2 heart attacks in the same night, so of course. And she lost. This woman's life is just all about losses, but she still becomes a decent person.
Exactly. That is rough. That is a rough life. Like, why? Give us more, man. Give us more.
And then we do get more of her, but not as well in the original Gundam.
Yeah, no, in the original she was, oh my god.
But honestly, I could see Sayla being a heroine in her own series.
Exactly. Like, give us a spin-off series.
Yeah, I just want a Sayla
series. Come on, Sunrise, give us a spin-off series, dog.
But then we're basically cutting to the end of Char's story. So he uses Garma to do the uprising, and Garma feels like, hey man, there's these things called mobile suits being built. And then that's when Char's like, okay, so this guy is more useful than I thought. Yeah. And then that's when he gets in good with Dozo. And then he tells Dozo, is like, hey, if you need a pilot, consider me. I want to be a pilot for a mobile suit.
It's like, I'm your guy.
So it's funny how the original mobile suits were built. Yeah. So they were being built to be military machines, mobile suits, like humanoids, just like you see in the original anime. But then the first few mobile suits are so hilarious. The first few mobile suits, after they're done testing them out to see if they can walk, to see if they can do this, their mobility or whatever. So after they do the first test, instead of scrapping them, that'd be a waste, they sell them and they're used for construction.
Yep.
These weapons of mass destruction in the future were first used to pave roads.
And
to just for construction working. That's hilarious. And Casval, being the tactical practitioner of madness that he is, goes into a construction company on Earth and works on it just so he could get used to piloting a mobile suit. That's amazing.
Yep. Just to achieve his goals.
Yep. Absolutely. Just wild. So he could, like, hey, when I go to war, I'm already going to be used to using this. And I'm just paving stuff. And then he meets that side character, Lala. Right? Lala is her name. So the reason he was interested in her, because she had a way that she was cheating on that gambling thing, and then all of a sudden she wasn't. And then he's like, so you're pretty good at that. What's your story? It's like, oh, I just do this crooked stuff and I send money to my family.
Yeah.
That's it. He's all like, oh, don't you want to go back? It's like, no, I'm better off sending money to my family.
But the importance of her character was she
is a new type.
Is the first confirmed new type in the entire series.
I just felt her introduction to the story was kind of weak.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. She's very important in the story as the first actual new type, and that's when Char realized, like, my dad was right.
So when he takes interest in this girl because she has a unique skill, and then he fights an assassin who wants the girl as well, and Char fights him, and this guy almost kills Char, but because they're their abilities, their new type abilities awaken, at that moment, it felt like he had a second sense. So right when he was about to be killed by this circled blade, he dodges it and then ends up killing this guy. And he's all like, hey, what was that? And that's all he took in order to keep this girl.
Yep.
As much as I hate to say this story is just full of plot conveniences.
A lot of plot.
The only reason they could do that is, I don't know why Star Wars didn't do this just as well, but you already have what's gonna happen. You already have it. Like, so we're gonna end up here. So let's work our way to it. And literally, that's what happens. That's how it felt like when I was watching it. Like, I already seen the original series, so I know what's gonna happen to these characters in the future. This is a whole plot convenience story. Honestly, if we're being honest, this whole series, the origin, Gundam the Origin, is just a story of plot conveniences. But it was all to build up to the original Gundam. So let's lead everything that we mentioned here, that was small details. We're gonna make sure that it's in the story, and we're gonna lead everything to here. So it's just gonna be full of plot conveniences because we can do that.
Yeah.
Because that's what this story was built as. But it's still good. It's really good. It's written really, really well. But there's just a few moments where you're like, this is just convenient.
Yeah, like basically the whole Casval Shard thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How more convenient does it get that you meet your freaking doppelganger in this giant universe that you live in? Out of all the billions and billions of people that live in space and on Earth, you just so happen to move to Texas.
Space colony, Texas.
That reminds you more of like Minnesota. And you just so happen to find a kid that looks exactly like you.
Okay.
Bro.
So let's wrap up. Char's story is basically full of plot conveniences, but we get a very well fleshed out story of why he does what he does.
Yeah. And it's ridiculously entertaining to watch. And as we said before, like, even if you're not a Gundam fan, like, yo, like, if you're even remotely just interested in it, or you want a good story with great characters, Gundam the Origin, guys. Gundam the freaking Origin.
But who are the Zabi family? That's my question.
They're all dead, that's for sure.
They are, but just like how? Like, yeah, they were. The father, the leader, was originally like a great friends with Daikun, Caswell's father. But like, where do they get their richness? Where do they get their technology? Well, Minovsky.
Yeah.
Oh, if you really want to see how the irony of creating a weapon of mass destruction and then he ends up dying because of it. The way the creator of the mobile suits, the reason why all of this is happening, the man that created this, the man that thought all of this up. It's like if the guy that built the nuclear weapons was just killed off by nukes, by being nuked. This man
is essentially what happens. Minovsky gets killed by his own creation.
Yep,
he gets stepped on.
He gets crushed. Remember that guy was there was a Zaku Xeon mobile suit, shoots the mobile suit that was behind him, and then the mobile suit falls on him
and gets squished.
That for me was
that's
hilarious.
That is just irony at its finest. Like, you get killed by your own creation.
And so the Zabi family weren't just like, oh, we're a powerful family that wants to take over space or the world or just rule everyone with a single power. Nope. Like we said, it started off with the Zabi family story started off with one of their own getting killed, and we're led to believe that one of their own killed them, had to use them as a plot device.
All the goals of each family member are different.
Crazy.
They're different from the brother and the next brother or the sister.
The father. And it's all each one of them have their own purpose and their own ideals, like as we say. Well, we haven't even talked about Girin, but Girin is basically a strong believer of space noise being the next future of humanity, just like Daikun was. So he uses Daikun's ideology so much. He is a firm believer. He's a cultist, basically, who is a smart tactician. Then you have Dozel, who is basically he still kept his humanity. Girin doesn't have humanity, any sense of humanity left in him, but Dozel does. That's why he cares so much for what he's doing. And even though it's crazy and it breaks him, he hardens himself to keep on continuing. And then Garma is an idiot. He doesn't understand war. He's still young, so he's just a plot convenience for Char to use later on. And then you have the sister, Cecilia. She herself, I would say she might be the most cunning of all of them. If you've seen the Gundam series, you'll know why. She basically, like, the father still has humanity as well. The father is like, I'm not just a tyrant. I have a soul. He didn't want them to drop a space colony on top of Earth. He's like, if we do this, the war's over, my guy. We have no reason to take over other places. Everybody will let's just finish it off at that. We're already war criminals. But Giran, he's like, nah, Dad, we got to push until it's complete victory. And then the father's all like, man, you're just a fiend. And then that's why he has Cassilia. He's like, hey, this guy's, no one can stop him, but you shall. The only one that can stop him is one of our own. And that's what I'm entrusting to you. And that's amazing. Yeah. Like, this family, like, the dad is all letting this happen. He's just letting it happen because it's for the good of their people and it's for the good of their family. But at the same time, he's all like, there has to be limits. And if there's no limits to stop us, then we have to stop ourselves.
Yeah. And he put that in place.
And that's why he left the what was his name? The captain or the commander, that Rivel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Commander Rivel. That's why he let him free.
Yeah.
So we're wrapping this up. Everything leads up to the first episode of Gundam.
Yeah.
For the beginning of Gundam. All of the characters, they were all separated far off in space, all come into one. Mm-hmm. They're all coming into the Colony 7, Side 7.
Yeah.
So where our boy Amuro Ray, the main character of Gundam, everything is just accumulating. All the characters that we meet in the Gundam series, all just accumulate into this one zone, and we see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I like that. It's just like an Avengers feeling, right? Assembling. And it's like, oh, bro, you have no idea what's just about to happen. There's going to be a bunch of plot conveniences, but still, it's amazing how it all comes together.
Yeah.
But the biggest moment when all of that is happening is the fact that the father, who had the Commander Rivel in jail, and they have a conversation. And they're all like, yeah, we know that there's atrocities being committed. We know that we should stop, but we can't. This is war.
Yep.
Here we are. He's like, so how can we deal with this? And then the commander's like, well, I can't do anything here in jail. And then the dad gets up and he leaves the commander or the leader of the Zeon forces. And he's like, the Zabi family. And he's like, I got you. And later on, he gets freed by people from Cassilia's group, spies, I guess. And then he escapes. And I think the leader of the Zabi family, the father, I think he was meaning to have them surrender so all of this war can stop.
Yeah.
But instead of surrendering, the commander says, there is no surrender. Man, and this one moment, he's all like, bro, this can all finish if the Earth Federation surrenders. Then that's it, bro. All the killing stops. We don't have to send young people to die. And then Commander Rivel just goes against what he said. And then at that point, he's like, now I'm going to be a generic villain. Why am I a generic villain in the original Gundam series? This is why. You were an idiot, sir.
Commander Rivel.
Yeah, it's his fault.
It's his own fault. It is his fault.
But at the same time, he did not comprehend that they had the spirit to fight back.
Yeah.
He did not understand the human spirit.
Yeah. To
fight back. The never give up attitude of the Earth Federation. He underestimated that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So that's why Giran exists. But yeah, all of this is just a great build-up for the story that was not that good.
That was not that good. Unfortunately, we're like building this up to be like this really great thing, and then you get the original Gundam and you're like, dang. Like,
again, credit to the series, the Gundam The Origin. It's amazing, bro.
Yes,
it's amazing. Again, we didn't talk about Raul Ramba, but he is a great character. He was cool in the original Gundam series.
He was one of my favorite antagonists in the
in this prequel series, The Origin, he is amazing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that. We were talking about Dozel starting off the mobile suits. He was the one that was testing them. That's amazing. That's pretty cool. He was in one of the first few mobile suits that was created, and he helped test them out so they become better.
Yeah.
But the way his story ended up there, and we're talking about the Raw family. If we're talking about Raw families against, so there was the most important ones in the Zeon army. The families that were important was the Raw family, the Daikun family, and the Zabi family. Mm-hmm. And the Zabi family killed off the other two.
Yep.
So you think, well, why is this man helping enemies? It's the same thing why Char is helping enemies. But at the same time, Raul Ramba, for me, was kind of weird. It still kind of leaves off kind of weird.
Yeah.
Where... why is this guy? He has such a roller coaster. He's like, they killed off my family. I don't want to be in the army anymore. And then he's like, oh, these mobile suits, we can beat the Earth Federation. I'm going to join. And then he's all like, guys, you're killing too much. I don't want to join.
Yeah.
And spoilers, we go start off in the series. He's a commander. I was like, what? How did this happen?
Yeah, what happened to you?
What a roller coaster this guy has.
He was definitely a cool character though. Like he was one of my favorite characters. Did not hate him in the original when I watched it.
He was a pretty cool guy.
I was like, you're a soldier. You're gonna do what you got to do, bro. I was like, dang.
So this was a special that they did as a 35 year anniversary or whatever. And then for the 40th anniversary, they made it into an animated series. So it's a 40th anniversary to 36th. 4 years apart, 36 years anniversary instead of 35. That's kind of weird. But for the 40th anniversary, they did this whole anime series. So what I'm hoping that they do in 10 years or in 2029 is that they remake the original Gundam.
I hope so. That is my hope for the future, because I can akin this feeling to when I watched the first, the second, and the third Star Wars, and spoilers for those who haven't maybe seen Star Wars somehow.
I haven't.
Oh dang. Well, spoilers for the people who haven't seen Star Wars. Star Wars 3 ends with Anakin becoming Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know, like, this man was the main character for the last two movies, and he was supposed to be the new hope for the Jedi, and he turns on them and he turns into freaking Darth Vader. What happens next? Like, when is the next movie? Was I disappointed, you guys? Was I disappointed?
When you go back to the 70s.
I had to go back to the freaking 70s because the movies were already made. I can akin this feeling to what I felt
right now.
Because
You watched the original anime.
I watched the original and I'm like, yeah, this is like, this
very
sucks.
childish.
Like, it was entertaining. I kept watching because it was entertaining, and plus the main goal for me was Hathaway. Like, I gotta know what happens to Hathaway. Still haven't seen it because I'm on Gundam Zeta now. Then I watched the origin, and again, amazing. And then it ends where the original Gundam is about to start, and I'm like, no. Like, I wanted in modern storytelling with all the plot holes and terrible things fixed from the original, just remade. Because I'm telling JT, if it gets remade, like, I'm telling you,
probably the best series of all in Gundams.
I don't know about that. Probably not. But it will cause a resurgence in the love for Gundam. I guarantee that. If they remake the original in the future, whenever that is, the resurgence in Gundam will become a lot popular.
So I feel like the original Gundam will get a heck of a lot more respect if it gets remade.
For sure,
because again, I feel like they made the original just to sell the toys. So the story and the characters was just an afterthought. There's a lot of mediocre things that happen in that series that is very laughable.
Don't even get us started, bro. Don't get us started.
Gundam the Origin, this story is just so fleshed out, so written very, very well, and I feel like they can do that for the original Gundam. It'll be just an amazing story, more amazing. It has to happen. It just has to happen, guys. So if you do watch Gundam the Origin and you want to know what's coming next, and that's the original Gundam, you're gonna suffer through old animation and mediocre storytelling. Doesn't mean that the characters aren't amazing. Like we said, Raul Rambal is still an amazing character in that original series. So they're still amazing characters. That's why Shard is still a very symbolic character. That all happened because of the original series, and now he has his own solo series, which is just amazing. But guys, Eric, how did you see this series? All 49 episodes.
I watched all 49 episodes of this series.
Before we started recording, I showed Eric that I was rewatching it because it's been over a decade since I've watched it, so I was just trying to refresh my memories. And again, Eric doesn't do his research, but I told Eric, I'm like, hey, you do know that there's 3 movies made of this. He watched 49 episodes, each of them about over 18 minutes long. And there are 3 Gundam movies. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, which are about 2 hours, so 6 hours long, and they're full movies. That gives you the same experience, guys. So if you're gonna go watch the original Gundam after watching the origin, I would recommend to watch the movies, which you could only watch on Netflix.
Wow, really? Oh my goodness.
Not Funimation, not Crunchyroll. Go check out the original Gundam series, and I recommend to go check it out on Netflix.
That way you just watch those and you get caught up to the story that way.
It's still laughable, but it's easier to watch than a whole 49 episodes.
49 episodes.
Like Eric suffered.
That was
when
rough.
Eric told me that he was watching this, I felt like I should tell him, but I'm like, no, I'll let him suffer.
This guy, bro. This absolute terrible person. So if you watched up until this point, thank you for sticking with us. We tend to ramble on and ramble on. I'm sorry, I had to Hey, shout out Ramble Raw though. But we really enjoyed watching the origin and everything that was put into this anime, and from the animations to the storytelling to the music, everything was amazing about this anime. So we highly recommend that you check this out. And especially if you're not a Gundam fan, I'm telling you, it's not about the Gundams. It's not all about the Gundams.
Especially not in this one. They're just being made, so it's not about them. Even the first battle of the mobile suits was pretty mediocre.
It was still cool. It was just bang.
It was just cool to see. Yeah, it was cool to see the origin of everything.
Yeah. I implore you, I've said this before, just give it a chance and watch it. I know people will have a very entertaining anime to watch, and highly recommend. That is it for this video, guys. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you guys in the next video. Out.